Kuzampo and welcome back on Expressions. This is your producer Kizawangmo, and today we are joined by Ms. Dilisha Subba here in our studio, and she brings in 3 book recommendations for all of our listeners. Dilisha and I are going to have a very interesting discussion on all of these books that she has brought in today, and we will also get to know some general opinion from Dilisha on literature and reading. So stay tuned.
Hello to all the listeners of BBS Radio out there. My name is Dilisha Subba and I am currently doing my master's in Pune University. And thank you to RJ Kazam for having me here in the station. And I've brought 3 books with me today to share with all of you. So these are actually very short novels because everybody has a short span these days. So I thought these books are very easy to read but have a lot of heavy depth in its meaning and are very, very beautiful pieces of work that have been written. The first suggestion that I have for all of you guys is The Underground Man by Fyodor Dostoevsky, who is a German writer, really, really great. And he is very philosophical and I love him a lot. You should check out all of his other books as well. But for today, I've chosen The Underground Man, which is a novella. And the second book that I have for you today is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, another very beautiful philosophical writer. And the third one is just a very short, compact essay, but very, very important in its depth. And it's also really funny when you read it. So this one's called If Men Could Menstruate by Gloria Steinem. So these are the 3, writings that I have for you today.
Okay, so I'm really excited for all of these books that you've just mentioned right now, and all of it sounds really interesting. So without any further ado, let's get started. And yes, let's talk about our first book that you just mentioned. You said The Underground Man, right? So yes, tell us a little bit about this book, Dilisha. And how did you get your hands on this book? Did somebody else recommend it to you, or did you find it yourself?
Okay, so because I am pursuing my master's in English, these books that I've chosen are actually part of the curriculum. So I have a really great professor that I look up to a lot. And it was in her classes that I read all of these books. So the first one is, The Underground Man by Fyodor Dostoevsky. It's basically about this man who doesn't fit the norms of society, and he has just basically decided to reject society and has started to live under a house, literally. But he talks about in a very cynical nature about how he doesn't like society and all of the things that are wrong with society. So when you read this book, you're actually feeling really, really sad and piteous for him. And you're just like, we must help a man like this in society and all of that. But when you come to the end of the book, you come to this realization that he is different in society and he may be piteous to us, but he is perfect in his own way. And therefore, even though it is hard for us to accept him as a different entity, we must include people who also have something different to give in society. But all in all, this work, The Underground Man, leaves us with a very sort of cliffhanger. I'm using an English jargon here, but it leaves us with a sense of no closure. We have to move on in life with the fact that this book has ended without any comfort for us. But that exactly is what makes the book so wonderful, is that because it never ended, it always stays with us throughout our lives, and we keep thinking back to the Underground Man and putting the Underground Man in all of the things that we do in life. So I think that's like a really magical aspect that Dostoevsky puts in this novella. It's a very short read. Please go check it out. I'm sure you can find free PDFs online as well. So trust me, this will literally change your life.
Okay, so listening to you talk about this book, The Underground Man, I have one question. And correct me if I'm wrong, but from what you explained to me about this book, I understand that this person does not want to be a part of society. And it sounds more of a choice than someone forcing this decision on him. So, Dilisha, just give us your opinion. How do you think we as a society can help these people come out into the world again and help them come out of this thought of cynicism and hate for the society? And how do you think we can encourage these people to, be a part of the environment and the people and the society around them, and tell them that even though there are a lot of faults in the society, there is also a lot of hope as well. So just give us your opinion on this, La.
So basically, there is no sort of one-size-fits-all solution because everybody is so different, and we are trying to accept individuality in our societies, right? But what I can say is, if there are people like the Underground Man and they want to remove themselves from society, by all means they should, and they should not be judged for their decision to stay away from society. But if they do want to come out and they find the courage, they muster up their courage to come up to society and be who they are, that is, I think, the pivotal point where we as a society count because of how accepting we are of their ideals and what they bring to the table. So I think basically there is a different solution for every individual, but just to be really accepting and empathetic is, I think, what counts at the end of the day.
So yeah, I guess in a way we can do our part and they can do their part and just hope that it helps. So yeah, that was a really interesting answer, Dilisha. Thank you so much for that. And yes, to all of my listeners, I hope everyone's having a great time listening to this discussion that we are having on the books that Dilisha has brought in today. And yes, stay tuned because we will be moving on to the next book that Dilisha has in store for us. So yes, Dilisha, please tell us a little bit about the second book that you have for us and why do you like it so much that you want to recommend it to others as well. So please tell us a little bit on this.
All right, so the second book, and this is also a novella, a very short novel, is The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka, another very important philosophical writer. It has very beautiful writings, and I would also like to specify that he writes very beautifully. The words that he chooses to put in his sentences, the gaps that are there that fills those sentences, all of them have very important meanings. You can go to this book and go to it again and keep on returning to it, and every time you return to it, you'll probably find something new and something different for you that is there. So The Metamorphosis is basically this fictional tale about how a person one day he just wakes up and he finds himself turned into a cockroach. So it's just this idea of, imagine what if one day our whole body changes into something as what society considers very disgusting as the cockroach. So you can see how everything changes for him, not only in the way that he does his things and the things that he cannot do, but also in the way that his family starts treating him, to a point where he becomes a burden for his family, and all they want is for him to basically perish and not have too much of a burden on his family and all of that. So another very sad tale, and something that we probably will never think about, we've never thought about. And I guess it also hits where sometimes we're talking about our pimples or our freckles and all of that, and all of the insecurities that we have, but we usually forget to be very thankful for the way we are, the way that we function, the way that we think, the way that we love, the way that we wish, and all of that. So so Metamorphosis gives us this really stark idea that he puts on the table that we just cannot ignore, is that, you know, if you were turned into a cockroach one day, like your whole world would be shifted. And it sounds like a fairy tale for sure, but it's very philosophical in nature, and I am sure all of you will love it a lot. The one part of the book that I would like to talk about is his sister really, really likes him. So for many days, she tries very hard to feed him, to give him whatever he wants, and, you know, like just accept him for his new physical appearance. But even her, after some time, starts losing that kind of effort because she has to put so much effort into, you know, taking care of him and all of that. So you can see the line of morality is sort of like erased there. What is good anymore? What is bad anymore? If we have to take care of someone, should we ignore what we want, or should we, keep on giving and giving and giving? So what exactly is the solution here, the answer here? And the answer is that there is no answer, and there will never be an answer. Is that you will have to do what you think is right, and you will never really know what is right. But so anyway, basically like that, it's very philosophical in nature. There is no right answer, okay? But a very beautiful read, will make you think a lot again and again, and that's basically the magic of the book.
Wow, so I think all of these books that you have brought in today has a lot of depth, and I'm really thankful that you're sharing these books with all of us. So yes, let's talk about the second book, The Metamorphosis. When you talked about this one part of the book, it kind of reminded me of mental illness in a way. I'm not really sure, but yes, might be wrong on how I might have perceived it, but please correct me. When you talked about how the sister put in a lot of care and a lot of effort into this cockroach and how with time it slowly declined, the effort and the care. So I think in a way I can associate and relate this whole scenario with people suffering from mental illness, because I feel that there are a lot of times where people suffering from mental illness feels like they're a burden to their loved ones, and the constant need for effort and care and love and affection kind of gets tiring sometimes, might get tiring sometimes. But I think this book tells us that no matter what, you have to do whatever you can and how much ever you can, and just hope that it is enough and whatever you're doing is right. And I think it's really beautiful. So thank you for sharing this book with us, Dilisha.
For sure. It has a lot to do with mental illnesses, and Kafka actually deals with a lot of that, a lot of things to do with the human psyche, and therefore again it comes back to society, but let me not harp on that. But yeah, just giving us new perspectives, and I believe it was Nietzsche who is also a really good author, by the way, who said that if you have many different perspectives about one same subject at the same time, that's what gives you liberation and happiness in the end, right? So so just like in terms of just trying to find the answer gives us happiness, I think. And to keep on trying, I think that's what I have to offer at this point.
Very true. Yes, I think that's the human nature in us.
Right, right. I have a friend who once said, at the end of the day, are you able to sleep soundly at night comfortably without any thoughts pervading your brain that's keeping you awake? And I think that's what we strive for at the end of the day, is that are we able to get a good, comfortable sleep at night? Yeah, so that's all that matters at the end of the day, to be honest.
Yes, I think you have to just do as much as you can, and put in all the effort that you can, so that at the end of the day you don't have anything in your mind saying that maybe I could have done better. And I think that's what you are trying to say, and I think that's beautiful. Yes. So I think the session is getting really interesting, and yes, I hope all of our listeners are enjoying as much as we are enjoying here in the studio discussing about all of these books. And let's move on to the last book that we have, and Dilisha, you can take it away. What is the last book that you have for us? All
right. So because I chose two very, very sad and thought-provoking novels that will, trust me, leave you very disturbed. But if you're feeling disturbed, it means it's doing its job. But anyway, if the third book that I have for you guys here today is If Men Could Menstruate by Gloria Steinem. Sorry, it's not a book. It's a very short essay of only 2 pages long. And Gloria Steinem was a very, very big figure in feminism. And If Men Could Menstruate is basically this essay that she writes in a very funny manner, very humorous, very sarcastic. So you love the way that it was written. You'll read it in 10 minutes max, not longer than that, and you'll be laughing out aloud, trust me. And so she basically imagines a scenario where men were the one that menstruate instead of women. So because now in feminism, you know how periods are a very taboo sort of a topic, and it's very stigmatized and all of that. So she reverses it and says if it was men who were menstruating, they would say that it was God's gift, and because they bleed, they should be able to do more things. It's because they bleed that they should get more privileges. It's because they bleed that governments and big agencies would actually work together to make these advocacies where pads are given for free and medicines were given for free, and there would be holidays just to celebrate menstruation, holidays just to be given to people who are suffering from menstrual cramps and all of that. So there's a reversal of situation, and she's basically trying to say period is just another excuse for the sexist ideology that we have in society. And if it were men who were menstruating, they really would use it as a source of power instead of us women who right now are told to believe as a source of our weakness.
This essay sounds really interesting, to be honest. I feel like it has a satirical take on the issue of period. So let's talk a little bit more on this. So please give us your opinion. Do you think Bhutan is progressing and seeing some better changes when it comes to accepting and speaking out about period and sex education and just feminism in general? What are your thoughts on this? Do you think with the new generation, Bhutan is moving forward to see a better place for all of these women in our country? What are your thoughts on this?
Yes, so first of all, thank God that we were born in this generation. I think we are very, very lucky because of that. And of course, for sure, we have better privileges. We have better, not even privileges, we have better rights because of the generation that we are brought up in. And thank God that we are born in such a beautiful country where there's a lot of equality. We see a lot of equality. And so for us, most of the things that all of these feminist writers have written about are not relatable to some aspect. A certain degree is we feel thankful and we feel glad that we have this kind of liberty in us. But of course, we also have our set of problems, as does any other country in the world. But I think what matters for us, I mean, speaking in Bhutanese context, is that most of the problems that we deal with are very small and very minute in nature, and things that can be looked over very easily. So these are the things that we should probably address. And these, I'm sure, because of the confidence that I have in this country and in the government and all of that, I'm very, very sure that these are things that just need to be brought up to the table, and it will be solved for sure. I think what matters is mostly education is where we are lacking, as is the rest of the world, is that we need awareness programs, advocacies, and all of these. But these are things that people have been harping on for generations and generations and generations. And again, just like I've said in all of the books, we probably won't even see the change in a big way as we are living right now. It'll probably take centuries and centuries. And even in those centuries, when we reach that time, they will have their set of problems. And it keeps continuing like that, because if we do succeed in all of our goals, then what really is the reason for life? So, so I think, yes, we do have a lot of problems that we still need dealing with. We have come a long way, and we have solved many of the problems that we have been facing. And we have a long way to go, but I'm excited about this long way that we're going to go. And good luck to all of us. Just if we change our mindset and just the way that we behave, the way that we speak, that's all that everybody can do, and that's all that matters in the end, to be honest.
Yes, very true, Dilisha. I totally agree. And yes, just a disclaimer that I want to give out to all of our listeners. When we talk about feminism, we are not trying to demean the other gender. So I hope that all of you will not get us wrong when we talk about feminism and about, all of these issues. Just a disclaimer that I wanted to get it out. And I feel that feminism is more than what we think it is. And I think there needs to be a lot of education to address this confusion of the idea of feminism that we have around us. And with this, we have come to the end of the 3 list of book recommendations that Dilisha has brought in. And I hope that all of you had a really great time listening to the discussions that we had. And I hope that all of our listeners have jotted down all the names of the books that Dilisha has recommended today, because all of these 3 books sound really amazing. And stay tuned for more, because now we'll move on to a more general question to get to know more about Dilisha and her reading habits, and just get a general idea of literature from her. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Dilisha. Why do you enjoy reading?
I began reading because I was jealous of my sister who could read, and I couldn't understand the story until I knew how to read, and that was really frustrating for me, because she was able to know the story, and I was curious about what's going on in the book. So that's how I taught myself to read, and since then it's been a very ongoing journey. Reading for me is magical because it has many different advantages that are very different in different situations, and all of it works. So, for example, sometimes if I want to get away from the world, you can escape in a book. Sometimes if I'm questioning about something, especially when I'm frustrated and I'm questioning about the way people behave or the way society is, or you're just totally feeling philosophical and all of that and not happy with the world, you find the answers in books. Trust me, you'll find the answer in every book. And sometimes it's just honestly for leisure, and you just want to read a good story that you don't really find in movies and all of that. But yeah, so I enjoy reading simply because it was my first friend, and it will always be my friend. I feel like if I could take one thing with me when I die, it would be a good book.
Okay, but I think that would be really hard to pick.
Exactly.
So I think you'll have a lot of time before death comes to you because you'll be choosing your books.
Yes.
But anyway, so yeah, that's really interesting.
That is also one thing that I keep thinking about in my life, is that the fact that I will not be able to read all the books in the world is one thing that haunts me every night, is that you have to choose your books because there's just not enough time to read all of the books in the world. And that is one really big nightmare that I have. Really.
Okay, that's something really interesting. Okay, but at least you don't wet your bed. Bad joke, but anyway, so yes, coming back, talking about books right now and talking about why you enjoy reading, yes, we have talked about this really thought-provoking books that you have brought in today with you. So, what is the particular genre that you really enjoy reading? Because it seems like there's a pattern of the kind of books that you really love. So could you please tell us, is there like a particular genre for it?
It really just depends on the mood that I am in, and I try to be inclusive of all of the books. But you know how there's this term called book racist. So every book reader is a little bit inclined to certainly one subject, and I think that for me is philosophical books. I am reading Friedrich Nietzsche right now, who is also very philosophical in nature, and it gets very confusing, and this is one genre that most people don't like to delve into unless you're you have to read it, you are forced to read it. But philosophical books is what gives you all of this confusion, and in that confusion is where you find freedom, because your thoughts have been stretched for more, and which is very, very helpful to the way that you think and the way that you perceive, but also the way that you act towards other people, the way that you behave. So philosophical books is one that I get very inclined into. But just to keep it light and all of that, one book that I really enjoy is mystery. So mystery books are really captivating, and obviously because you're curious about who is the killer and all of that. But they also have really beautiful characters that are very well established, I think. So yeah, mystery is another that I keep getting inclined to.
That's really great. You have some really great choice of books there, Dilisha. So yes, before we enter the segment of expressions, I have one last question for you. I feel that with the world getting increasingly digitalized these days, there are a lot of other sources of entertainment for people. So you as a voracious reader, what are your thoughts on the reading trend in this digital era?
I'm actually doing my master's dissertation on digital humanities, which is a subject of how books have become digitalized, literature has become digitalized, and they have been forced to be digitalized because the thing is, nobody really reads books anymore, and the literature fields are dying, even in universities and colleges, because they really have no output. There's only input. You can only read, you can only expand your mind, but what do you have to give to the society? Very less options, and kudos to anybody who comes up with more creative ways to find an output of taking literature courses. But definitely in digital worlds, in this digital world, we have very short spans. Everybody just wants to do a 3-minute read, 2-minute read, even just one sentence, sometimes captions in Instagram and all of that. So the thing is, I guess all we can do is hope that there will still be readers a century away from now, because it'll honestly be a very big shame for us if we lose such a beautiful way of expanding our mind. Because what books have that no other medium right now has is this way of expanding our mind in a manner that we are able to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, and we are able to see a world from a whole different perspective, which honestly I don't even think that movies and video clips and all of that are able to do. But looking at it from a digital perspective, now we have ebooks, now we have book narrations that are recorded in soundtracks and all of that. So these are also very, very helpful, and I've seen a lot of kids these days holding a Kindle, and to be honest, we can use digital humanities to our advantage, because before, in our time when we were reading, we were limited to a set of books that we could only buy, or that we are only able to find in our immediate vicinity. But because of digital humanities, we are able to access any book in the world, and that is a very big advantage to us. Another thing with these short attention spans is that we read so much in very little time, and just because we are able to skip from one text to another very quickly because of our short attention spans, we know a little bit of many different things, and we are bombarded with information on a daily basis. And so I think that should be positive for us in the digital age, and the mode of reading will definitely change, but I think reading itself will survive.
This is really great. This is a really new outlook to this battle between reading and digital era. I feel like I'm learning a lot of new things from you today. So yes, thank you so much for this. And I think Dilisha has been really fit for this segment of Expressions, because she is someone who has been studying literature, and she's currently doing her master's in English literature at Pune. So I felt that she was the most suitable person for this segment of Expressions to discuss about literature and discuss about reading, and get some book recommendations from her. So yes, I hope all of you enjoyed listening to it. And Dilisha, do you have anything that you'd like to say before we end this segment? Any messages that you'd like to give out?
Thank you so much for having me here. These days, it's very rare to find conversations about books. So I'm very glad. I'm really glad, and I had a lovely time being here talking about my favorite books with you. So thank you so much for having me here. I had a lovely time. And to all of the listeners out there, I would definitely encourage you to read more. Even just 1 page, 2 page before you go to bed is honestly enough. And I've honestly met a lot of people these days who don't read books, but they read a lot of articles online, they read a lot of short stories, they read a lot of poems even. So these are also part of reading. Don't ever forget that. Even if you go out and you read a sign that is in the hospital, like a chart that is there about, I don't know, pregnancy or something like that, that is also reading. And all of these things, at the end of the day, they all add up and they improve your reading skills. And trust me, you're really missing out on a lot of fun that you will find in books.
And with this, we have come to the end of this week's segment of Expressions. Thank you for joining us. We will be back next week, only on BBS Radio. Goodbye.